Hi! Welcome to ACCQ Continuing Professional Education. Pag-uusapan naman natin ngayon about yung provision and yung contingent liability. Ano ba yung difference ng provision dun sa contingent liability? Para sa mga financial accounting students or dun sa mga accountancy students in general, explain ko sa inyo maya-maya. Pero bago yan, I'd like to make a shout out doon sa BSA class 2A, 2B, and 2C. Stay safe, guys. And also, I would like to make a shout out kay Eden Amado and kay Sharon Kayanan. Hi there. Ngayon, sasabihin ko naman sa inyo kung ano yung definition, yung formal definition ng provision. Tapos maya-maya yung contingent liability. A provision is an existing liability of uncertain timing or uncertain amounts. So, the essence of a provision is that there is uncertainty about the timing or amount of the future expenditure. So, para bang may ano pa yon? Kumbaga, parang wala pa yung exact amount, yung bang determinable amount, no? Pero meron siyang ranges of yung bang probability, whether it's probable, possible, and or remote. No, so halimbawa niyan, let's say sa litigation, no, yung company nakasuhan and then merong merong mga damages yon. So meron silang pwede silang magkaroon ng liability doon. No, if it's probable, then they could pay yung plaintiff. No, so ito yung so this is the essence of a provision. A provision may be equivalent of an estimated liability or loss contingency that is accrued because it's probable and measurable. So, yung word na yun, probable and measurable, that gives a that's arise a liability doon na pwede na natin i-accrue sa accounting, nire-record na natin debit and credit na yon, no? If it's probable or measurable, so you can say that there is already a provision. Again, PAS 37, paragraph 14 provides the requirements para ma-recognize as a liability, no? Or provides that a provision shall be recognized as a liability in the financial statement. So, ano-ano nga ba yun? Di ba yung tatlo na yun? Should always be present. Number one, there should be a present obligation. The entity has a present obligation, legal or constructive. So, legal, it could come from a contract or let's say from a litigation, and halimbawa nag-violate yung company, let's say dun sa environment, and they are more than likely na magbabayad yung damages na yon, then it arises from law or from a legal obligation or yung constructive. So pag sinabi naman constructive, ito yung sa mga warranties, no? Yung mga warranties na let's say bumili yung customer ng appliances, no? And there is a warranty or a guarantee coming from the company. So there could arise a liability. And number two, it is probable that an outflow of resources embodying economic benefits would be required to settle the obligation. For a provision to qualify for recognition, there must not only be a present obligation, but also a probable outflow of benefits or of resources embodying the economic benefits to settle an obligation. So yung word is yung probable na outflow of benefits para ma-record siya sa accounting or i-accrue siya as a liability. No? So merong ranges yung probability na yun, no? Whether it's probable, possible, or remote. So if it's more than 50%, then it's probable. If it's less than 50% or 50% or less, then it's possible. And dun sa naman, if it's 10% or less, then it's only remote. So dun sa dalawang dun sa possible saka dun sa remote, walang accrual yon. So the best lang nun is yung bang disclosure lang yon sa financial statement. And number 3 is the amount of the obligation can be measured reliably. Now, paragraph 25 of PAS 37 provides that the use of estimates is an essential part of the preparation of financial statements and does not undermine their reliability. And the standard suggests that by using a range of possible outcomes, an entity usually would be able to make an estimate of the obligation that is sufficiently reliable. So where there is no reliable estimates can be made, then there is no liability to be recognized. So the amount recognized as provision should be the best estimate of the expenditure required to settle the present obligation at the end of the accounting period. The best estimate is the amount that an entity would eventually pay to settle the obligation at the end of reporting period or to transfer it to a third party at that time. Where there is a continuous range of possible outcomes and each point in that range is as likely as any other, then the midpoint of the range is used. So yung pinakagitna yung gagamitin natin if there are continuous range of possible outcomes. Or yung median. Where the provision being measured involves a large population of items, the obligation is estimated by weighing all possible outcomes by their associated possibilities. The name for this statistical method of estimation is expected value. So nakuha natin ito dun sa yung sa ating mga math, no? And well, just to give you an illustration of that, yung mga range of outcomes, we'll solve a problem here about an entity. So an entity is a defendant in a patent infringement suit. The lawyers believe that there is a 60% chance that the court will not dismiss the case and the entity will incur an outflow of future economic benefits. So nandun yung tatlong requirements to be a liability, no? Nandun yung merong present obligation, measurable, and yung bang an outflow of future economic benefits. If the court rules against the entity and in favor of the claimant, the lawyers believe that there is a 30% chance the entity will be required to pay damages of 4 million pesos. So ito yung mga expected outcome, no? And a 70% chance that the damages will be 2 million pesos. A 10% risk adjustment factor to the probabilities of the expected cash flow is considered appropriate to reflect the uncertainties in the cash flow estimate. So para rin nagko-compute tayo ng cash flow, no? Yung expected cash flow. So we'll compute the weighted probabilities. Okay, so kukunin natin yung mga percentage of outcome. So dito ang sabi diyan, meron raw 30% yung sa isa. So 30% chance of the entity will be required to pay damages. So multiply this by to pay damages amounting to 4 million. So multiply this by 4 million. So sabi naman dyan, there is a 60% chance that the court will not dismiss the case. So in other words, it is probable, no? Kasi it's more than 50%. So 60% yan. No? Okay. So kailangan natin ng calculator dyan. No? Okay. Pero lagay muna natin yung isa. Yung isa naman, 70% chance. So 30 plus 70 is 100%. No? So times 70% chance that the damages will be 2 million. 2 million lang, no? 70%. So, lagay natin dyan, multiply by 60% also. So, let's get the yung sagot dito. So, 30%. I hope you can see it, no? Medyo maliit yung whiteboard, no? Pero, well, pagkakasya naman, 0.3 times 4 million and times 0.6. So, that will be 720,000. You can compute with me. Okay, so this one, sige nga, 0.70 times 2 million times 0.60. So this will be 840. Okay, so just add this. So plus 720,000. You will have 1,560,000. So this is the expected cash flows. Expected cash flows. Okay, now it says here there's a 10% risk adjustment for the probabilities of the expected cash flows, which is considered as appropriate to reflect yung uncertainty of the cash flow estimate. So, meron pa nga yan. Hindi pa tapos yung computation na yan. So, there is a rate adjustment. So, I hope you can see this. There's a rate adjustment here. Rate adjustment. Or risk adjustment. Risk adjustment. Of 1,560,000 times 10%. Okay, so this would be how much? Well, this 10% of this one is 156,000. So i-add lang natin yan. So this would be 156 plus 1,560,000 times plus 156,000. That would, you will have yung total provision. This is the 1,716,000. So this would be your estimated provision, okay? Liability. Okay, provision. Okay. Which is accrued, no? Okay. Let's go now to the second example, no? Medyo similar rin dun sa ginawa natin. This is IFRS adapted or International Financial Reporting Standard, no? Adapted. During 2019, Kenya company is the defendant in a breach of patent lawsuit. So nagkaroon ng breach of contract. That's why dinimanda si Kenya because of that patent lawsuit. The lawyers believe that there is an 80% chance that the court will not dismiss the case and the entity will incur outflow of benefits. So in this case, malamang-lamang na ano yan. Kumbaga, because it's 50%, it's more than 50%, so it's probable. So nandun rin yung present rin yung tatlong requirements in order to recognize this as a liability. If the court rules in favor of the claimant, tinatawag na ako ng mga kalaro ko sa labas, no? Narinig nyo naman. Naggangangaw-ngaw na. If the court rules in favor of the claimant, the lawyers believe that there is a 60% chance that the entity will be required to pay damages of 2 million and a 40% chance that the entity will be required to pay damages of 1 million. So 60 plus 40 is 100%. No? So 60% raw na magbabayad sila ng 2 million and 40% raw na malamang na magbabayad sila ng 1 million. So account natin yan, no? Using yung probabilities, yung expected value in a little while. Other amounts of damages are unlikely. The court is expected to rule in December 2020. So next year pa, pero ano siya? Sandali, nandyan na ako. Okay. The court is expected to rule in late December 2020. So next year pa siya kasi assuming this is 2019, no? Pero meron na tayong na may measure na natin yung yung liability, no? And it is already kumbaga there's already a present obligation and there is an outflow of economic benefits, no? So pwede na natin siya i-accrue kahit na wala pang desisyon. There is no indication, there is no indication that the claimant will settle out of court. So hindi siya makikipag-amicable settlement, no? Kailangan tapusin natin 'to sa korte. So in the principle of conservatism, no, yung prudence, we need to recognize that already as a liability. A 70% risk adjustment factor to the cash flow is considered appropriate to reflect the uncertainties in the cash flow estimate. So kagaya kanina, no, merong risk adjustment. So gagawin natin 'yan. An appropriate discount rate is 10% per year. So ito yung present value. The present value is of 1 at 10% for one period is 0.91. So para dun sa mga expected cash flow. No, expected cash outflow from the company. What is the measurement of provision on December 31, 2019? So again, this is a provision na i-recognize na ng company as a liability. Ia-accrue na nila dun sa kanilang financial statement. So gawin muna natin to. So yung mga range of probabilities, no? So let's move this like here. Okay, so yung una is this one is yung mga probabilities, no? Okay, range of probabilities. These are the range of probabilities. Okay. So yung una is okay, that's 60% times 2 million. Okay? Okay, and then yung niya, yung well, the probability is 80%, no? Okay, ito lang yung expected cash flow, 60% na yan. Okay, and then yung isa naman is 40%. This is the expected cash flow, yung isang estimate. So that is 1 million. 1 million ro yung babayaran niya. And ito naman yung probability, 80%. Okay, so let's compute that. I need your calculators. So, ayan. Compute. Hindi na ngayon calculator cellphone na no? But I hope accountancy students, no, yung calculator ang gagamitin, no? Hindi cellphone sa pag-compute. So that's 2 million times 0.6 times 0.8. That would give you 960,000. Okay, so 960,000. Ito yung expected cash flow para dun sa isang dun sa 60%. And yung isa naman is 40%, so 0.40 times, kita nyo kino-compute natin dito lang Ayan, so raw and fresh. So this one is 320,000. So this one, so add lang natin yan plus 960,000. Okay. So that would be 1,280,000. Okay, so yan. And then, well, there is yung 10%, no? I mean, 7% pala. So, risk adjustment. So, there's a 7% risk adjustment. So, 7% risk adjustment. Okay. Okay, I hope you can still see it. So, this would be times 0.07, that would be 89,600. Okay, so kunin lang natin yung total niyan, no? So plus lang ulit natin dun sa 1,280. That would give you 1,369,600. 600. So, multiply natin siya dun sa present value of 0.91. no? So 0.91. So that would give you, so times, kasi ito yun, no? The present value of 1 at 10% for a period of, for one period is 0.91. So times 0.91, that would give you, ito na lang natin isulat. Yan. Okay, so this would give you 1,246,336. So this is the, anong tawag natin dyan? So that would be the present value of cash flow, no? Present value of cash flow. Cash flow. Ito rin yung ito yung provision natin, no? So we'll recognize this as our liability. Okay, liability provision. Provision for liability para dito sa case na yan. Okay. So, a similar example dun sa example number 2 or the problem number 2, pero dito naman dalawa yung case niya, no? So let's see kung ano yung mga probable amounts na pwedeng bayaran itong entity. So prime company has long owned a manufacturing site that has now been discovered to be contaminated with toxic waste. So this is very common, especially sa mga factory na merong mga yung mga operations malapit doon, let's say sa ilog, no? So nako-contaminate nila yung yung ilog, no? So kailangan i-rehabilitate 'yon. So the entity has now acknowledged its responsibility for the contamination. So meron silang malamang-lamang na doon na liability doon na an initial cleanup feasibility study has shown that it will cost at least 500,000 to clean up the toxic waste. So ito yung first case nila. During the current year, the entity has been sued. May isa pa, for patent infringement and lost the case. A preliminary judgment of 300,000 was issued and is under appeal. So ina-appeal ng company. The entity's attorneys agree that it is probable that the entity will lose this appeal. So malamang-lamang ito yung babayaran niya bukod pa dito. One amount of provision should be accrued as a liability. So all the elements of liability are present here para i-recognize siya or i-accrue siya as liability. So ano na yung number 3? There's a present obligation, tapos there's an outflow of economic benefits and yung measurable, no? So 500 plus 300,000 equals magkano yung i-accrue as liability? This is 800,000. Yan. So yan, baka nag-isip ka pa kung anong gagawin. So inad lang natin yung 500 plus 300. So pag-usapan naman natin ngayon yung contingent liability. Ang sabi dito, under PAS 37, paragraph 10, defines contingent liability in two ways. It says, a contingent liability is a possible obligation. So take note of the word possible, that arises from past event and whose existence will be confirmed only by the occurrence or non-occurrence of one or more uncertain future events not wholly within the control of the entity. The second definition states that a contingent liability is a present obligation that arises from past events but is not recognized because it is not probable. So yung kanina, possible, ito naman not probable. That an outflow of resources embodying economic benefits will be required to settle the obligation or the amount of the obligation cannot be measured reliably. So in contingent liability, there is a present obligation, but it is either probable that economic benefits will flow out of the company or measurable. It could neither be neither be both. No, hindi pwedeng pareho. Otherwise, it would be a provision. So, yung contingent liability, it's either measurable siya or yung bang there's a probability that an outflow of economic benefits or outflow of resources embodying the benefits to settle the liability. So, hindi pwedeng dalawa. So, otherwise, itong contingent liability is only disclosed sa financial statements. No? So, there are requirements in disclosure of financial statement under contingent liabilities. So a contingent liability is not recognized in the financial statement but only disclosed. The required disclosure are, this is the treatment of contingent liabilities. Number one is brief description of the nature of the contingent liability. And number two is an estimate of its financial effects. 3, an indication of the uncertainties that exist. And number 4, possibility of any reimbursement. So if a contingent liability is remote, then there is no disclosure necessary. So in other words, pagdating sa contingent liability, there's no need to accrue, disclosure lang. No? And there are just, kumbaga parang nandun lang siya sa notes to financial statement. Yung bang describing kung ano yung effects nito. So let's go now here to the example para dun sa contingent liability. Now, this is a combination of yung sa provision and contingent liability. Remember, pagka remote yung liability, which is 10% or less, no? Then there's no need for disclosure, no need for accrual nor disclosure. So summer company is being sued for illness caused to the local residents as a result of negligence of the entity's part in permitting the local residents to be exposed to highly toxic chemicals from its plant. So like the previous example we had, no, this is quite common sa mga ibang factories, sa mga ibang entities na merong mga toxic materials, no, that can harm yung inhabitants dun sa paligid, no? So, ang consequence, and of course, they will sue yung company. The entity's lawyer stated that it is probable that the entity would lose the suit and be found liable for a judgment costing the entity anywhere from 1.2 million to 6 million. So, meron ng probability. No, so this could be accrued, no? Pero magkano yung amount? Anywhere from 1 million to 6 million, no? So medyo hindi medyo uncertain yung amount. However, the lawyer estimated that the most probable cost is 3,600,000. Yun. So what should be accrued and disclosed? So the amount to be accrued, so lagay natin dito, is 3,600,000, no? It's given already. So sabi, probable cost is 3,600,000. So if it's probable, then we accrue it. Now, ano naman yung disclosure? For disclosure to FS, okay, it is the difference between 6 million and 3.6, so that would be 2,400,000. Okay, so that would only be yung additional lang na maaari nilang mabayaran. So that is only kasi hindi siya it's not measurable. Okay, so if you have any questions about the topic, you may write your comments or questions. If you also have some suggestions of future topics that you want for us to discuss, you can also do so. And kung meron rin kayong pa-shoutout, pwede rin. So, stay safe for now. Stay safe always. God bless, and subscribe and keep your hands clean.